Gary was approached at the World Economic Forum by an interviewer who asked casually, "Gary, how you doing? What brings you here today?" Gary replied, "Just having a walk down the front, mate. Just having a meeting with Jamie." The interviewer then greeted Janie, Gary's companion, asking, "Janie, how are you feeling about the new Trump administration for Britain? Do you think he's going to be good?" Janie quickly responded, "No comments at all." The interviewer pressed further, "What about Elon Musk highlighting the grooming issue in your country? Do you think that's a good thing?" Gary tried to remain composed and said, "I've got no comment, mate." When asked again why he wouldn't comment, Gary reiterated, "I've got no comment on Trump and Musk and all the rest of it." The interviewer persisted, "So what brings you here, though?" Gary explained, "I'm a partner in the company with Janie." The interviewer asked, "Oh, what's the company?" Gary replied, "Canelo. Nothing dodgy, mate. Not for you." The conversation continued with the interviewer asking, "Are you feeling hopeful for the future now?" Gary seemed unsure, replying, "Of what?" The interviewer clarified, "The world." Gary said, "It's a new day, a new era, isn't it?" The interviewer added, "Donald Trump became president yesterday." Gary looked indifferent, saying, "I'm not across that really. I stick to my stuff." The interviewer noted, "You don't care about politics." Gary replied, "I do care about politics, but not really. To be fair, speaking about American politics, it doesn't affect Britain." The exchange ended cordially as the interviewer thanked him for his time, and Gary walked away. The encounter quickly went viral. Former England footballer and TV pundit Gary Neville had become the center of attention at the World Economic Forum after being approached by an activist interviewer who questioned him on controversial political issues, from Donald Trump's new administration to Elon Musk's remarks about grooming gangs in the UK. Known for his strong opinions on football and occasionally British politics, Neville appeared unusually cautious and refused to engage on global topics. When asked about the impact of Trump's leadership on Britain, he curtly replied, "No comments at all." His response was the same when Elon Musk's comments were mentioned. Neville refused to be drawn into debates that often polarize public opinion in the UK. As he walked with his business partner Janie, Neville clarified that he was attending the event for professional reasons, not politics, mentioning his involvement with the company Canelo. When asked whether he felt hopeful about the future following Trump's election, Neville responded vaguely, "It's a new day, a new era," before admitting he wasn't up to date with global political shifts. The interviewer tried to nudge him toward a political statement, but Neville maintained his composure and neutrality, preferring to focus on his business commitments rather than world affairs. The clip of the interview sparked mixed reactions online. Some viewers criticized the interviewer for confronting Neville with politically charged questions that seemed irrelevant to his appearance at the forum. Others felt Neville's refusal to engage was disappointing, given his history of speaking out on social and political matters in the UK. Many argued that as a public figure who has advocated for fairness and accountability in sports and society, he should not have avoided questions about global leadership and social justice. The moment highlighted the tension public figures often face when their celebrity status crosses into political discourse. Athletes and entertainers are increasingly expected to use their platforms to address societal issues. However, that expectation often comes with unwanted scrutiny and ambush-style encounters from activist journalists. Neville's calm but visibly uncomfortable demeanor demonstrated how difficult it can be to maintain neutrality when politics, social activism, and media confrontation collide in public spaces. As debates continued over his reaction, commentators noted that the World Economic Forum has become a stage not only for politicians and CEOs, but also for cultural figures whose fame brings attention to the event. For Neville, the spotlight may have been unwanted, but it reflected the growing expectation that celebrities must have opinions on everything, from climate change to social justice to international politics, even when their expertise lies elsewhere. Meanwhile, the discussion shifted toward a different political issue entirely: Britain's climate goals and Boris Johnson's acknowledgement that the UK's net zero targets for 2050 might have been overly ambitious. Critics called the move gutless politicking, arguing that stepping back from these targets was short-sighted. They emphasized that investing in green industries should be seen as an economic opportunity, not a burden. One commentator argued passionately that the global clean energy sector would be worth nearly $15 trillion by 2030 and that Britain needed to secure a large share of that market instead of debating the cost of investment. He insisted that spending money on renewable energy was not a liability but a chance to strengthen the UK economy by adding £1 trillion per year through new industries. However, skeptics countered, pointing out that the reality for ordinary citizens was different. They argued that despite promises of cheaper energy, households faced rising bills and an increasing dependency on foreign components, especially from China. "We can't afford it," one critic said. "Our energy costs are through the roof, and everything we need to become carbon neutral comes from abroad." Supporters of the climate agenda responded that while energy bills had recently risen by 2%, most of that increase came from unrelated factors, such as the Warm Homes Discount Scheme and network maintenance charges, not renewable investments. They also highlighted that wholesale energy prices had, at times, fallen below zero due to the surge in wind and solar production. Yet, because of the way energy pricing is structured, those savings never reach consumers. The lingering effects of high gas prices caused by the Russia-Ukraine conflict continue to distort the market. Experts argued that if Britain restructured its pricing system to separate renewable energy from gas, households could finally benefit from the lower production costs. Still, others insisted that Boris Johnson's shift in tone was pragmatic, acknowledging that the original 2050 net zero timeline was unrealistic given economic and infrastructure limitations. They pointed to costly subsidies paid to wind farms even when they were not producing electricity, arguing that these inefficiencies made the transition unsustainable. "We pay hundreds of millions just to switch off wind turbines," one critic remarked. "It's madness. The government is realizing that the dream doesn't match reality." In the end, both debates, whether about Gary Neville's political silence or Britain's green ambitions, reflected a broader struggle between idealism and realism in public discourse. Some choose to remain silent to avoid controversy. Others push for bold change despite the costs. Either way, both moments, Neville's quiet evasion at the forum and Boris Johnson's reluctant backtrack on climate promises, captured the uneasy balance between public expectation, political pressure, and personal conviction in an age where everyone is expected to take a side.